Hey, how's it going? Yes, thank you very much. It's going very well. I was just standing here deciding on what coffee to make. So as you know, I like the Black Rifle coffee. Not sponsored, no. I just like the coffee. So I like to share things that I like with people I like. So since I also like to try different things, I've got three different ones. I've got Blackbeard's Delight. I've got Spirit of 76. And I've got Silencer Smooth. Ooh, is that trippy or what? Okay. I just shaved, so Blackbeard's Delight, that's out. I feel like between Spirit of 76 and Silencer Smooth, Silencer Smooth. That's what I made. So, cheers to Silencer Smooth. Super glad you're here. We're going to pick up where we left off last week on Marcus Aurelius, the 1973 Buick Centurion that we just put a motor in. I want to take another look at the fuel pump leak and some other things before we dive into the suspension on Disco, the 1978 Corvette. We're going to do the suspension work on that. And in order to do that, I need to make a tool. I've made this tool before, and then, you know, for reasons known only to me, used the parts of it for some other things and thought to myself, hey, I'll never use this again. And that happens. That happens, you know. You have a long space of time between the same projects that you think, surely this will never happen again, and it does. And so now I have to make a tool. I'll take you into that too. And also, if you don't tell anyone, I'll give you a sneak peek at Mr. F's engine that just came back from the rebuilders. We'll do a whole episode on installing that and all of the details involved. But you know, I mean, we got to go look at it at least. So anyway, again, super glad you're here. I'm going to dive into the Buick real quick, and then we'll just kind of see where the day takes us. All right, grab yourself some coffee. All right, let's go. So, today is essentially Tuesday. So this is the day that last week's, last week's episode just came out, like just now, essentially. Well, I made a small mistake, okay? I went to bed last night. I kind of just left things as they were. It was a super busy day. It was a late night. You know, inside baseball, did video editing, uploading, all the stuff. It just takes a long time after the work is done and the cleanup gets done. Love it, not complaining. But I woke up this morning and walked out to the shop with my cup of coffee, wherever I laid it. Took a look at my motor, and it's like, you must have been just really tired or something. But I just made a small boo-boo. Also, I just, you saw me looking at the fuel pump. I'm gonna go ahead and replace it. It's still coming out of the weep hole. I replaced the fuel line. So I had a fuel line on there. But this this was on I guess the very last part of the spool, and it's kind of collapsed. So when it was looped down, it was really kind of collapsed down. I didn't like how it was restricted, so I put a new hose on it that I was happier with. It wasn't restricted. Anyway, still leaking, whatever. So I have a new fuel pump ordered. I'm just gonna put it on there. Everything else, super great. But I noticed I had a little bit of like oil spitting out of the dipstick tube last night. I noticed that, but I was like, I'll deal with it in the morning, whatever. Anyway, so I'm gonna just show you what I did. You might have done this before, or you might do it in the future, but it just, mistakes were made. Let's just move on and pretend it didn't happen. So that's really much ado about, not much, but so this is the air pump. This pump, in 73, they decided that if you pump air, and there's a little valve here that turns it, turns the pump on and off essentially, or the airflow on and off, and that's vacuum operated, okay? So I was just replacing some of these vacuum lines were really crispy. I was just replacing with new. I like to do that. I just kind of take one at a time and just see, should I replace them or not? And I just felt like I should. Well, when I was replacing this one, I look, and I had the other end of the air pump on the, it's essentially a crankcase breather, It vents crankcase pressure into the air filter and, kind of recirculates it. Well, I had the air pump pumping air into there, which was essentially pressurizing now I do have the PCV valve, so it was getting crankcase ventilation, but the PCV valve was not handling it very well, and so it was pressurizing the crankcase, which was causing oil to spit out of here, which was like perplexing me last night. But it's just because I had this plugged into here, and then that's what happens. So I'm just telling you, if you have a stupid smog pump, just make sure it gets plugged into so basically where that goes is the exhaust. So there's a valve and all of that. And for some reason, pumping clean air into the exhaust at certain times was good for emissions. I'm not quite sure how it works 100%. I just know how it's routed and how it's supposed to be routed. So anyway, yeah. I don't want you to think that I never make any mistakes, because I do. And I had a good laugh at myself. So you may have caught it yesterday or today, last week's episode, which is a week ago now. And we're yelling, hey, stupid head, plug it in the right place. It's okay. I found it. Anyway, but the everything's just running so well, the engine's super smooth, everything's happy, and except for the fuel pump. So I've ordered that, And while we wait for it, I am going to build a tool. So, because we're going to start diving into suspension work. So, oh, the heater came on. Perfect timing. So let me show you this tool, and then I'll get to work. Okay, so this is the deal. I need to, well, first, let me bring you in here. Let's stop. Okay. Okay, so the tool and why. So in rebuilding this, we're going to replace the bushing on this trailing arm on both sides. We're going to do one side at a time. Well, because it seems self-evident. There's only one of me, and well, I mean, I could take the whole thing apart, but also it's kind of like doing brakes. If you've ever done drum brakes, do one side at a time, and if you can't remember how little springy dingies go, you just open the other side up and look at it. So, pro tip, boys and girls. I'm sure everybody says. So how pro is it? We're going to be disassembling all of this, but in order to do that, we need to remove this spring mounting on the end. So essentially, you've got a bolt that runs through, you know, cotter pin, castle nut, and all of the bushings associated with it. Oh, you can't see? Hang on a minute. I have a light somewhere around here. I thought I did. Oh, let me see, did I leave it under the car? No, I didn't. Where did I put it? Oh, I'm charging it over here. I feel like I should just start this whole explanation over, but you know, you get to see me forget where I put things, and you're the one that was complaining about not being able to see. Put your glasses on. Seriously. All right. Can you see better now? Okay. Let me get this situated. I was about to say situated. I don't know. Anyway, now you can see something. So then you've got the bushings here. But in order to get this off, we need to compress this spring up. We need to get the tension off of this bushing and pad and all of that. We need to get this up so it's just kind of floating up here. So what way can we do that? Well, you may have your own way, but let me tell you my way. I'm not saying it's the right way. I'm just saying I made a tool. So I thought I threw the tool away. I didn't. But I'm not going to reuse it. I'm going to make a new one for a couple reasons. So the principle of the tool was I had some angle iron at the time, and there's this cross piece up here. So I ran my angle iron over top of it, right? And there's two holes on you know, that are sticking out on either side. And I take this all thread, and they'd be hanging down on both sides of the spring. I put another piece of angle iron on the bottom and essentially use the nut to kind of tighten down on both sides to raise the spring up. keep in mind there's going to be a lot of tension on this, but this is a half 20. It can handle a lot. The tensile strength on this is way more than that spring is. But what you can see here is, I mean, this is pretty decent angle iron, but you can see it actually, the tension of the spring actually deformed this. Now, that's not dangerous. It's an angle iron, so we've got two different, you know, stresses at play here. The bottom one didn't do anything to, it was fine. It was just that top one. Also, because of a little misalignment, you can see this all thread is bent on this side. This one's actually straight on the other side. That mainly had to do with the fact that this cross piece that I'm using is not exactly centered over the spring. The spring is completely under it, but it sticks out further on this side, so I think it was pulling on that piece of all thread. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remake this tool. I've got some new all thread, and then I've got some 1/2 by 1 inch hot rolled steel. So instead of using the angle iron, I'm going to use something a little thicker and beefier, and I'm going to do a little bit better job of measuring what widths I need. And you only need to make one of these because you're only doing one at a time. You're not going to compress both sides. You're just compressing one side, doing it, putting it together, and then the other side. So I am going to start doing my measurements, cutting 2 pieces out of here, and then, you know, cutting my all thread. I've got my hardware for it, and yeah, make the tool and get ready to compress this spring and start taking this apart. Once I get this spring mount off, then I can start take the half shaft off. We've got these links here, which are adjustment links I can show you later for your camber adjustments on this. And then we'll just keep working the shock until we get it all torn down and finally get to the trailing arm pivot point here. So yeah, hopefully it's not too rusted together. This actually looks really good, so I'm not overly concerned about that. But you know, if it's been together since 1978, maybe it's been rebuilt once. I don't really know, but hopefully it just comes apart, and you know, nothing ever just comes apart, but with a little persuasion, maybe it'll come apart and I can put it together. This is the kit that I have ordered. Got this particular one from Davies Corvette. There lots of places, Top Flight, Eckler's, all kinds of places sell this stuff. You kind of have to pick through it because there's lots of different packages, or you can buy piecemeal or whatever. I've got new shocks for the back, and I always buy new shims. So this is shimmed, and that has to do with how it sits, you know, right to left. So when we take this out, we will pay very close attention to what shims are in each side, and we will match it with new shims. We will not reuse these old ones, even though they might be fine and work. We're not doing that. We're putting new ones in. So if you're going to all this trouble, spend a couple more dollars and put new stuff in. So anyway, this will be fun. We'll let me get this tool built, and then we'll go from there. See what happens. I don't know, maybe it'll be lunchtime by then. probably. Okay.
There's no one quite like you. No one makes me feel like you do. Just a look in your eyes, smile on your face. No one makes me feel that way. You changed my point of view, like nothing before I knew. When you came along, nothing felt wrong. Now I'm only thinking of you. Can't wait another day when you're so far away. I wish that I'd stay. This must be love. No one compares to you, like a dream that has come true. It's so hard to believe that you happened to me. Now I feel like someone new. Can't wait another day when you're so far away. I wish that I'd stay. This must be love. This must be love. Can't think of what to say to make this go away. Not sure I'll be okay. This must be love.
Well, that was easy. We have got all of the parts out of the, passenger side here. You can probably get a better look at my tool situation, how it is, well, let me get a light. You're always complaining to me. I can't see anything. Well, you don't have to yell. I've got lights. Okay. All right, here we go. So, you can see that I've double nutted the top on both of them. You can't really see up there very well. There's basically just enough room for that all thread to come down. So I loosened some of the tension on it. It's holding a bunch. If you don't hold it at all, this spring will be like way down there. So anyway, I've see, where was I? What was I talking about? You have to, of course, disconnect the parking brake and the brake line when you do this job. So I'm probably, just judging by the crack I'm looking at there, we'll replace the hoses on both sides. And then, speaking of parking brake, I noticed that there's no parking brake paraphernalia. I don't know what the other side looks like because I don't have it apart yet. But there's nothing there. There's no brake shoes. So this design, if you didn't know, the parking brake goes on the inside. It's kind of like its little drum brake inside the rotor. So, but this linkage is here. We've got a little evidence of a spring retainer thingy, but nothing else. So the owner told me, yeah, rebuild my rear parking brake because it doesn't work. In fact, I think he said something was rattling around in here, so he just took it out a while back. So I've got those parts ordered. I'm going to clean all this up and get that ready for the parking brake when I get to it. Also, this caliper was seeping, so he opted to go ahead and replace that. His pads are fine, but let's just, these aren't super cheap, especially they're original Delco castings, but they make some good, well, they still make them essentially, sort of, with the same castings and design. So we'll get the same stamping. It'll be correct to the car, which I think this car, as original as it is, we want to punt this down the road to the future generations, and as original as we can keep it, let's do it. You know, if this was a resto mod and we had Wilwood brakes on it or Bear brakes or whatever, that'd be a different thing. Then who cares? And someday somebody might do that to this car, but let's give them something to think about with some original parts on there. So this was the whole reason why we took this arm out in the first place. If you can tell, there's just really not any rubber left. It's a bushing without the bushing. So I've got to press that out, and then instead of pressing these bushings out, as you can see, there's a problem there. It's not really, if you calculate the time it takes, it's cheaper just to buy new ones with the bushings already in them. And so that's what I have done here. These are essentially they're like a cam bolt, and that moves to adjust the camber. You know, it'll push the bottom out or pull it in. So I've taken pictures of the position of those. So when I put the new ones in, I will put them in the same position. Also taken pictures of the shims. So these shims were on either side of the control arm. So I've got the stack of the old ones, and I have matched them with the same stack of new ones. So we'll replace the old with the new. Technically, again, you could use these, but we're not. This is not expensive. Let's put new in. So also with these, so to remove these arms, you have to take this, well, it goes in here. So essentially that arm fits between here and this. This is the shock mount. It goes in there with a nut. Well, what happens is they kind of get rusted into place. You can even see evidence of that on this. And it's a little knurled too. So when you're pushing them out, there are ways to get them out without damaging threads and ends and stuff, but also not expensive. Not expensive to just buy a new one with a new nut. They're labeled right and left. Don't reuse them. Just don't. There's no need for that. You're in here anyway, and look, these are even made in America. And you can tell because, well, it has a Statue of Liberty on it. So, yeah, just do it. Just, if you're doing this job, which by the way, you can do on 4 jack stands, in your garage, on your back, you can do it. I know because I've done it. But I'll tell you what does come in handy, and maybe you don't want to buy it. At the time, I bought mine at Harbor Freight. You know, it's actually where this engine hoist came from that actually I'd like to replace, because apparently the arm's not long enough. Doesn't go in some of those long-nosed cars. I'll get that replaced eventually, but I've got a shop press here. You know, for the few times that you're going to use it, you don't have to spend a bundle. I'm not advocating you buy one from Harbor Freight, but it's worked for me. So it's good for pressing bearings out. There are other ways to do it and in. But if you can press a bearing or bushing in, it's much better than beating it in. It's just it's not the preferred way. So also a tool that can come in handy for this job, for instance, okay, since we're talking about jobs and tools. So we were talking about this shock mount, you know. If you have access to an air compressor and a not even expensive air hammer with a blunt end on it, with a little PB blaster and that air hammer, you can get a lot of good done. Get a chisel attachment. Also can be good for you know, removing things that need to be removed, okay? That air hammer it's kind of like an impact wrench in a way. You know, when you're pulling on a wrench real hard and you can't get it loose and you put an impact on it and boom, boom, it's loose and everything's fine. That air hammer does the same thing, it shocks it. So, you know, you can, for instance, when I'm using it on something like this, I'll beat a little bit on here. I'll beat a little bit when this is in there. I'll beat a little bit on here, and I'll beat here, and then when I start pushing it out from this end, I'm trying to loosen all of the rust on it. So that air hammer can come in handy. Also not expensive. I'm not saying it's the only way. I'm saying it's the way I like to do it. You know, work smarter, not harder. So anyway, I don't know how I got off on all that. It doesn't really matter, but all I'm saying is this job can be done in your garage if you have a C3 Corvette with a couple of inexpensive tools that, and lots of time and patience. Don't forget that. Time is expensive and patience is in short supply. So there are some expenses that you need to consider when you're doing it. Or maybe you have a lot of friends and a beer fridge. Also, that's a cost, but it might be worth it to you. So anyway, I am going to get back to this. I'm going to start cleaning this up. I ordered the parts for this. So I'm going to start cleaning this up in preparation for those coming, probably not for a while. And then we'll start working on getting the bushing out, replacing it. And I can reassemble the parking brake assembly when this is back on the car. So I can, you know, I can work toward reassembly as far as I can get, and then we'll jump on the other side. So, well, what are you waiting for? I'm gonna grab some coffee, and maybe you just wanna start on this bearing here. You know, I don't know. Whatever you wanna do, as per usual. Do you ever have one of those days where you have some grand plan for the day and for all...
I found this on the web.
Oh, I didn't ask you to do that. What'd you find for me? Small steps for a grand plan. Oh my gosh. Okay, stop listening to me. Okay. It's just, I'm being listened to. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, grand plan. Well, that grand plan got derailed. And now you don't have a plan because you didn't really go beyond the grand plan that you had. Okay, so the grand plan was to button up this side and then go to the other side. Whoops. Are you okay? You look a little unsteady. Okay. Easy now. You can just sit down. Okay. And button up the other side. It would not include finishing the parking brake because, as we talked about, well, wherever I put it, I had to order parking brake parts to repair the parking brake, so we wouldn't be able to completely finish it this week. Well, as you can see here, I've put, I've pressed the new, bushings in this trailing arm, and then there's this center pin, and then that's what, well, it'll be the new one. That's basically what this will pivot on. This bushing sleeve inside of the rubber bushing. So how this is designed, if I can tip this up, is if you notice how that's kind of a, I don't know, concave bell, whatever, it's basically pressed out so that it prevents this sleeve, which you can see is a little damaged, but not, it's just scratched up a little bit, it's not bad. This sleeve will not, move. It's kind of presses these together so it all stays where it's supposed to be. So, that requires a tool to essentially mushroom this out on this side without damaging the other side. And so I spent about 45 minutes looking for my tool because, well, I bought one, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. And I couldn't find it. So what did I do? I was like, I can just make my own tool. I'll get this, it'll be fine. The tool's like $150, whatever. Well, I ruined bushing. Didn't work. That's all I'm saying. It didn't work. I tried. It didn't work. So I ordered a second bushing. So that's coming in the mail to replace the one that I ruined. And then my stupid head reminded me, hey, Eric, didn't you think to yourself, I'm never going to use this tool again. I'll just sell it. Put it on eBay. Someone will buy it. And someone did buy it. And I said to myself, yeah, you did do that. So, guess what? I ordered the tool again. I'm not going to sell it this time. I'm just going to put it on the shelf in a little tool bin, whatever. It's a specific tool for a specific task, and I will for sure be doing it again. So it's just been a few years between. And I was like, I'll just sell it. I moved, all of it, you're kind of getting rid of stuff and whatever. So all that to say, I'm at a standstill. So I can't put this back together until I get the tool for the bushing. I could take the other side apart, but then I would be in the exact same place that I am here. It's really no benefit. Also, I would have to take this tool out of here, put it on the other side. It's just much easier just to leave it in place. And I ordered, brake lines and all of that stuff anyway. I was gonna have this thing buttoned up today probably. If not today, tomorrow, whatever. This week for sure. Not happening. Not happening. Screeching halt. That's what's happened. Yeah. So what am I gonna do? Okay, I gotta put the fuel pump, that's come in. I gotta put that in the Centurion, Marcus Aurelius. So I'll do that. Hopefully, at the end of all this, we can take Marcus for a little test drive just down the street and back or something, just to make sure everything is the way that it's supposed to be. So I'll do that to pass the time. I guess I did mention to you that we were going to take a look at Mr. F's new engine. Well, I guess let's go look at it. Okay, so I'm also going to show this engine in in the next episode of Mr. F, but let's just do a sneak peek of it here. It's hard to not miss it, and then kind of explain, as I probably will in that episode, what the dealio is. So, here we go. Are you ready? Okay. So, what we have here is a Ford 302, EFI. We've got the little EFI ports, and it's been completely rebuilt. It's got the AFR Renegade heads. It's got a GT40 intake and roller rockers. What's that? Why is it red? Man, I wish you hadn't asked me that. Well, funny story. My engine guy, normally the routine for building engines is, hey, what color do you want me to paint this engine? I'll tell him the color. Usually if it's a Ford engine, I want it, whatever the factory was, blue, Ford blue, whatever, dark blue, light blue, whatever it is. If it's a Chevrolet, I don't know, Chevrolet orange, black, red for the Buick engines. Whatever it came as the factory, that's what I want it to be, okay? It's not hard, and he does it. Every time. So this time, I got a message that said, hey, your engine's done, it's ready to go. I said, oh, sweet, I'll come pick it up. And then a couple of pictures, and I painted it red because you seem to sell everything that you own, so it's resale red. Resale red. I was like, at first I thought he was joking, but then I'm looking at the pictures and no, this guy's not doctoring pictures. That's exactly what it is. I told him I was probably going to just repaint it. I don't know if he believed me. It's not really the vibe I'm going for. So I'm going to end up repainting it black. I might buy a different valve cover. The paint on here is a little bit fish-eyed, so I don't really like it. Anyway, it's not smooth, it doesn't look good. So either I'm gonna put those in my media blaster and then repaint them silver or something. They're aluminum, valve cover gaskets. Probably paint this intake a silverish color because I've got the upper, which is a silverish color, which actually, whatever paint I paint that, I will probably go ahead and paint this so they match. This has already been painted once, I can tell by looking at it. I've got a special surprise for this cover. These are just decorative, but we're gonna do away with this one. We've got a little bit of stuff and scratches and whatnot, but you'll see that later. Yeah, and then I'll paint the lower part black. I'll either paint these black or whatever color that is or something. Anyway, the issue is I have got to mask everything, and it would have been easier if he just painted it what I wanted, which I say that, I don't think I ever told him what I wanted, which is why he made the decision to go with resale red. So, good guy. I'm not, He's built a ton of engines for me. Finally, his sense of humor comes out. But yeah, I'm not gonna go with that. So, anyway, there you go. That'll be in an episode coming up when I install that in that car. So, but for now, let's just throw the fuel pump on Marcus Aurelius and go from there. This is real life, okay? This is just the way it goes. So, it is what it is. Okay. Well, isn't this great? It's always a huge satisfaction to get a motor back in a car and get it running right. You know that it will go down the road for years to come. As many miles as these are going to get on them, or this, Marcus Aurelius. I just had to take it for a little test drive down our road. I know it's snowy, but it's not salty. It's just dampness. So, and it's pretty cold out. So, if you're worried about, it just flaking away in rust on the ground because someone took it out in the winter, well, guess what? It's just water. It's snow, water, and it's frozen. So, no biggie. Well, this week did not go how I planned it. really at all. But we'll take what we get, you know. I am still waiting on parts on Disco, you know, Disco, the Corvette. And those will probably show up pretty soon, and I'll get to that. So maybe you'll see that next week. But for now, and look, keeping company with, I've decided to call that truck Old Blue. Why would you ask why? It's obvious. It's kind of like naming a black dog that you own Blackie or whatever. It's old and it's blue. I could have called it Old Waterfall since it's waterfall blue, but you know, Old Blue. And it's a very endearing name. And I liked it, and I'm the one in charge of naming. So, neener. Okay. Old Marcus here. We'll head back home as soon as, you know, arrangements can be made. And then, in his place, hey, the heater's coming on. That's weird. I had the door open. In his place is going to be another project. So we always got stuff just coming and going. And we're just waiting on a lot of things. So I'm going to go grab a beverage, I think. We're just going to call this one, you know, and see what happens next week. So I think that's a great idea. It was my idea, so of course it's a great idea. Ooh, that was like a whistle sigh. Okay, I need a new chair. This is clearly not working for me. I don't know if you can see. If you look close, you can see that this chair is kind of not exactly 100% right. And I'm afraid one of these days, whoa, I'm going to land on my posterior. Yeah. So guess what I did? I ordered a new chair. Cheers, by the way. Yeah, I got my real fire going. It looks like a TV, but actually it's a fireplace kind of mounted higher than you're normally used to. Yeah, I ordered a new chair. It's always a crapshoot because I just ordered it offline and I hope it's comfortable. But I did that with this one. I don't spend that much time sitting in this chair, actually. You know, I'm ordering parts. I'm doing research on projects. I'm editing, you know, video. I'm picking pieces of green tape off my finger. I injured myself washing dishes. Apparently my wife sharpens her knives. Had to keep that in mind for next time. Yeah, so basically next week, I'm just going to lead off by saying, I don't know what the heck's going on. I don't know what I'm doing, but just swing on by and you're going to see whatever it is. Maybe I'm just sitting and enjoying a cold apple juice. Fine apples. It's basically like drinking vegetables. That's the way I look at it. That's where I get my vitamins from. And then we'll just see what happens. We'll just see what happens next week. You know, I don't have a big splashy headline. You know that one of these weeks we're going to be working on Mr. F. Got to solve that red engine, resale red problem that we have. Got to tamp down the sense of humor that my engine guy has. We got to nip that in the butt. You're right. It is bud. It's nip it in the bud. It's not nip it in the butt, but saying nip it in the butt sounds funnier than saying nip it in the bud, and everyone's like, what does that mean? Nip it in the bud. Nobody knows anymore. Has to do with, horticulture, I think. So we're just gonna nip it in the butt and not allow senses of humors. I want what I want. So anyway, that's all I have to say, really, except that I'm super glad that you're here and that you hung out and watched basically nothing. Nothing happened. And then next week, a lot of the same. But what's important is we have a good time and we're doing what we love, So, yeah, that's what I got. We'll see you next week. I got work to do, obviously. A lot of work to do.